That's right, folks. We are back. Nick, Josh in the house from the supporter section. Josh Palermo alongside me here today. And Josh, man, it's been a while, I know, but we got so much to get into. It's been a wild run of Canadian footy over the last 3 weeks. Let's jump right into it before we get anything going, though. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing phenomenal. I'm excited to be here on Sunday.
On a Sunday, man. Sunday.
Nice little Sunday. Sunday. That's really how I should have promoted the episode yesterday.
It's just good. We did a good job
for the whole
promoting the
scene.
episode. Now we gotta get into the episode, and there's a lot going on. And I want to start. I mean, we can start with the Canadian women's draw against Spain and what that means for the roster moving forward. We could start with more news coming out from Drone Gate, whatever you want to call it. We'll get into that as well. But first, let's start with the CPL, and the playoffs are underway. Not only underway, we are at the final already. It feels like just yesterday we started the playoffs, Josh. And it's been an entertaining playoff run. In general, I think we've had
Yeah.
4 really, really strong games. Right? Started with York Pacific in Toronto. York comes out with the 2-0 victory. Solid
Crazy
performance.
game.
Then they go on the road. They have to face Atletico in Ottawa. They put up a fight. Keep it close all the way through. Ends up going to kicks. 2-2 going into kicks. Atletico comes away with the 5-4 win on kicks. Then Cavs beat Forge the same day, so they now host the final. And then Atletico heads to Tim Hortons Field and comes up just short on their miracle run with the super team as Forge comes away with the 1-0 victory, ends up in the final again. A 3-time final matchup now between Cavs and Forge. Okay, first, I want to get your opinion as a York fan. How did you think York fared in the playoffs, sir? Then we'll get to the overarching feeling.
Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful question to open things up with. I was really impressed. I mean, I was happy that we were at the dance in the first place. I think that's a huge thing to celebrate for York fans. And then, yeah, like to witness that win on home soil was absolutely incredible, to see what it meant to the players, to the fans, to this team. Like, have the new ownership come in, and having Benjamin Mora come in midway through the season after not faring very well to get things going.
Yes.
He comes in, completely turns it around, and we became a football club. We became a football team, and that was so beautiful to see. And yeah, like I feel like every game there were more fans in the stands, and it was just adding to this atmosphere. And it all culminated to this one big focal point, which was the first ever playoff game to be held at YSL. And
Yep.
I think York played phenomenal. I got to be completely honest. I had Pacific beating them. Like, I did not see them
Really?
winning that match. They were more prepared on the day, I think, for that to be the outcome. And York might have been a little bit gassed, having played the midweek tie and going the full length. And unfortunately, Mo couldn't find the right spot. It was a good save by Ingham, but
Yep. And
it
that's
was
what
what
it
it
comes down to.
was.
It comes down to one moment, and that one
Yeah.
went Ottawa's way. And speaking of one moment, we flip over to the 1-2 game, the battle for home field advantage in the final. And Cavs, I don't want to say shock the world, because it's not necessarily shocking that they beat Forge, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but shock Forge a little bit, for sure. And now Cavs get to host because they come away with the 1-0 victory. Tobias Warshevsky with the 27th minute strike, and he's been phenomenal for this Cavs team since joining. And I think that's a guy that you can count on. But Forge dominated possession. Forge had more shots, same amount of shots on target, because Forge doesn't hit the net as consistently as they probably want to. This Cavs team is good, man. Is this their year?
Yeah, I think quite honestly, it has to be. I mean, there is a conversation to be had
has
after
to
the
be.
show. I think it has to be. I think
Okay.
if any year were to be Cavalry's year, I think it would be this year. I'm excited that they're hosting that match, and I think, yeah, to be able to go to Hamilton, get a huge result there, to lock down Forge, to get that clean sheet. I mean, you got to be riding some bit of a high. Tobias Warshevsky has to be also, I think, the best striker in the CPL this season. I think that all the pieces are fault. a debate to be had.
There's a debate to be had. If we're talking just this season, there's a debate to be had. If we're talking best striker in the CPL, I'm probably leaning with you. But if we're talking best this season, it's hard not to include Brian Wright when he's been on the pitch.
That's fair. That's fair.
Right? But anyways, continue.
So yeah, no, I think that this club is playing phenomenally. They're riding high, and I'd love to see it. I just love to see it happen. Like I think Tommy's due. Tommy and the boys are due, and I think that they're having that home field advantage, being able to pick up that win. They got a little bit more rest. They got a bye week.
They did, yeah. Now, does that hurt them?
So then that's the whole other conversation. The age old question when it comes to cup
rest
ties.
versus rust.
Exactly. Like if we transition to that Forge game that they played yesterday against Ottawa.
Yep.
I would say it didn't necessarily feel like the most high energy output performance by Forge, and that was obviously on purpose. And that's what was the most surprising thing to me, and I think a lot of people, was just the approach that Bobby and the boys had going up against Atletico Ottawa, which was very much.
Let them come at us, and we'll capitalize when we get our chances. That's a confidence level, though. Like this.
And that's
this
true.
is a team that has been in the final every single season. Right? 6 straight years they have been in the final. There's a confidence level there that they're like, okay, yeah, you guys want to attack? Go ahead, have fun. We'll take our chances. You attack us. We'll be ready for it. Right? That's a confidence, especially with 2 young keepers. Right? Most of the time when you have a young keeper, you're trying to keep the ball away. You're trying to hold possession so you're not getting a ton of pressure on the young guy. They don't care. They're just like, no, we're going to play our game. Let them come at us. We'll capitalize. We'll go forward. The goal, nothing special, but it works, right? Like, as long as it's effective, it's effective. You know what I mean?
That's all you need. I mean, it was sort of funny. Ottawa had set piece after set piece, and they had corner after corner, and it was just like, this has to be the way that they're going to score, and they just couldn't do it. And I think that is another big part of what the day looked like. That was just it. Ottawa couldn't they couldn't buy a goal. Yes, Kalela, he had an incredible performance. And the Forge defense, they stood their ground. They played quite well. But yeah, another side to that coin is just the fact that Ottawa couldn't put it away. And then it was brilliant. It was just brilliant. Early on in the second half, Forge bags the goal, and then you're like, okay, cool, that's all they need. And I don't think watching that game, I sat there and was nervous for Forge. There were obviously a couple of flashes,
terrifying.
But I honestly, I was like, I think they're cooking. I think that this is, and then they pulled away the win. But I think it really shows, like, that victory today shows the diversity of, like, just how incredible Bobby Smirniotis is as a coach. Like, you come in, you say, you know what? I know we're at home, but we're not going to play. We're not going to play on the high press, and we're just going to let Ottawa come to us. And it's just like it is the versatility of this 11. It's the leadership that Bobby has in the locker room to get everybody to buy in to a new system in a cup tie. Do or die. You've already lost the first match that could have sent you to beat hosts. And I know a couple of the Forge fans were pretty gung ho, thinking that they were gonna had it in the bag to host again in the finals.
Why wouldn't they though? Like,
of course,
based on the season, of course you would think that you're going to host.
100%.
But Cavs did what they did, and now you gotta head out to Calgary, and that's not an easy trip.
No, not at all. But and that's really the other side of things to say. Cavs got to be due. But I think as you said, the confidence that Forge has to have entering this match to say we can play whatever football we want to. We fear nobody. We're fear
not
nobody.
Scared. Come get us.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the defending champs for a reason. They've won this thing 4 times. There's a reason for that. 4 times in 5 years is not a coincidence. There is, I was going to say it's not lucky, but there's some luck that is involved in any championship run. But
of course,
a lot of it comes down to the system. A lot of it comes down to the atmosphere around a team and how they handle themselves. And that's why we're also seeing Cavs in the finals for the 3rd time in 6 years, right? It's the same idea. These are 2 clubs that have that feeling around them. We know that they are good, but they know that they're good, right?
Yeah.
They know that they're supposed to be winning. They know that they can get there. Whereas, I hate to, put examples out there, but, York doesn't have that background yet, right? Pacific has a championship, but they don't seem like a team that should be there every year, right?
No, I think that was a Cinderella
Vancouver.
run for sure.
Vancouver, same thing, right? These are teams that haven't had that success and don't necessarily know how to handle it. Whereas like Forge and Cavs, again, you want to talk about how they set up their systems. These are two teams that came in with an academy.
Yeah.
Right? They started with an academy 5 years ago. Cavs obviously with the Calgary Foothills, Forge with Sigma. They had a template in place. They had a framework. And they knew how to win. Everyone else has been playing catch up. I hate to say it, everyone else has been playing catch up.
But no, it's just the honest to God truth. I mean, when you have infrastructure to support the growth of a football club, when you have those academy clubs to be able to build off of, and
Or
like
just
also
the experience of playing
that's-
together and in those academy systems. Like,
yes, no, and that's the biggest thing as well, right? You got guys who've grown up playing together, and cities that really back these clubs.
exactly.
You know, that's the key.
Exactly. So
It'll be a fun final.
it'll be a fun final. Speaking of the final, sir, got to get some predictions here from you. So Cavs at home against Forge again. These two teams in the final. Is it Cavs time, or does Forge win their 5th title in 6 years?
I think it's Cavs time.
He thinks it's Cavs time, folks. He thinks it's Cavs time. Why?
Because, I mean, again, there is an air around this club that just says to me, you know what? Cavalry deserves this for the season that they had, the way that they were able to turn things around when they couldn't get results earlier on, and then they picked up a massive win against Forge the last time they played them to make it to be able to get to this point, to get that bye into the finals. I think that Forge has been scuffling in a way, you know, right? Like it's difficult to necessarily say in that they dominated in the regular season points wise. They obviously finished first, but they don't have a striker really up top necessarily, right? Like I don't
the
think.
sad part is they have a couple strikers, just none of them are that dominant striker that we've been accustomed to, right? They have Jordan Hamilton, they have Badabanga, right?
Yes, and they have
the
Taron
guys,
Campbell, but nobody has been able to show up and be able to perform. And yeah, it takes a huge header from Olubedi Bellewu, and that's what sends them over the line. And so as much as I want to, give kudos to Bobby and the guys' performance in that match against Ottawa, I also didn't even have Ottawa making it that far in the playoffs. And I think, again, like as I said previously, they got a little bit lucky on PKs and yes, that is what this takes, when you get to the playoffs. But I don't think that he was going up against the direct best other side in this system, in this tournament. And I think that was Cavs, and I think Cavs were able to win, right? So I think that they have the head-to-head record heading into this in terms of just current form in the way that they were able to beat them. And I think that, I don't know. I think Tommy and the boys are due. They turn it around midway through this year. Everybody seems to be firing. Wershevsky's like carrying this team on his back. He's bagging the goals. They look good. Cavs look good.
And let's really talk about this, okay? Beginning of the season, they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. They had 1 win. They had 6 ties and 1 loss. You turn one of those ties into a win, they're tied on points with Forge. You turn 2 of those ties into a win, you're first place going into the playoffs, right? Like, it's a different story. They started off poorly. We talked about that. But there was never a concern around the club. We didn't hear anything. No one really made it seem like there was a concern. They were just ready to go, and they figured it out, and they played their game, and now they got home field advantage. So can they raise a trophy in front of their fans? Absolutely. I could easily see them raising that trophy in front of their fans. Will they? Well, you're going to have to wait and find out on Saturday. And Josh will be covering that game from his couch, but still, he'll be covering the game. I will be working, or else I would be watching the game too. So we'll figure it out. But yes, make sure you tune in 3 o'clock Eastern time. So 4 o'clock in the East, 3 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, 12 p.m. in the West in Pacific.
This guy, he's a human clock. He's got
my job.
Time zones, baby.
That's
time zones.
my job.
Nick McVicker.
Let's go from the CPL playoffs to the MLS playoffs, and let's start with the wild card games, which were both very entertaining games for different
Crazy.
reasons for Canadian teams.
Literally insane.
Let's start with the Montreal game. They end up losing on kicks, but what a game for Montreal. They showed up and they played well. I give them a ton of credit because Atlanta's not an easy opponent. I know they didn't have the best season, but they are not an easy opponent to play against. So you come out, you end up 2-2, and it's a lot. Like, they showed up. And the 89th minute PK to tie it up from Josef Martinez. It showed
Electrifying.
How tough this team is, and they battled. Again, is this a great MLS team, Josh? No, it's not. We know that this is not a great squad right now, player for player. But they showed up as a team throughout most of the season, when a lot of people, including myself and you, probably predicted them to finish bottom of the East. They ended up finding a way into the playoffs. And I give them a ton of credit. They earned that spot, and they earned a 2-2 draw in regulation. Unfortunately, it goes to kicks. They lose on kicks, but they showed up. So good on them, right?
Yeah, no, I was quite sad, to be honest with you. Completely messed up my bracket because I did honestly have CF Montreal grabbing this match.
Wow.
And yeah, I was not super obviously impressed with the way that they started out. Things just weren't really clicking, and Atlanta United got fortunate with a couple of goals there. And then the way that they were able to rally back, like Josef Martinez against his former side, bags one in the 63rd. Then the PK happens. Like, as this thing's going to VAR, I'm like screaming at the TV. I'm ready. Like, I'm back in CF Montreal till I die. I've
Josh is
convinced
ready to jump
myself
through
watching
his
this
TV
game.
and fight the ref.
Honest to God. Like, diehard Toronto FC fan his entire life. On the day of this match, I was like, I bleed blue. All right.
I'm bleeding Canadian red, not TFC
Exactly.
red.
Exactly. No, they deserved a win, and I was complaining to you. I was texting you while this game was happening. I was
Yes, you were.
like, why is the wild card match have it so there's no extra time? This is stupid. I hate when it goes directly to PKs. In the same way that
This
York
coming from a
broke
York
my
fan,
heart.
folks. By the way, this coming
Exactly.
from a York fan. He had a rough week.
It's been messed up. It's been messed up. Anyhow, yeah, no, I think what Laurent Courtois was able to do with this side was pretty incredible to close things out this year. I
Exactly.
think we had a lot of players step up and play well. Unfortunately, Nathan Saliba, not necessarily his best match here, I don't think. But
No.
Nathan Edwards, Nathaniel Edwards. No, sorry, Raheem Edwards. My apologies.
Raheem.
Raheem Edwards also not the most solid performance, which I think was one of the reasons they couldn't get things going. But then Courtois made the right subs, bringing in Tom Pierce. And you started to see things click a little bit more, and they had it going. I said, you know what, they have to have the momentum in PKs, and then PK screwed me, and then I was heartbroken. And that's that.
He cried on his couch. Then he texted me very upset. It was a very entertaining exchange from Josh. Yeah, you're right. And yeah, Saliba was kind of a disappointing result for him. But at the same time, like, he's been so good for this team all season. Like, I'm okay with you're going to have bad games.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate that it happened here. On the flip side, Vancouver decided they were really upset that they couldn't host the playing game at their own stadium. So they decided to go to Portland and just beat the living tar of the Timbers. 5-0 result. Ryan Gould had a 59th minute hat trick.
Because he's that guy.
And that was the 5th goal. They had 5 goals in the first 59 minutes and then just said, yeah, we'll get ready
Sick.
for the next game.
Like, what on earth?
20th minute, 24th minute, 31st minute, 3 goals in 11 minutes. And, like, I was watching the game because thank God it was on TSN. I didn't have to, like, set anything up for Apple. Not that it's really that hard, but I didn't want to have to. It just dominated for, like, 15 straight minutes. And then they scored 3 goals. Right? Like, they were the better side prior to scoring that first goal from Ryan Gould. And then they decided, now we're just going to score 3 now and just ice this one before half. And then out of half, they scored 2 more. Like, they were the better side. They dominated that game. And unfortunate for the Timbers, lots of good old Canadian boys on Portland. Crépeau not in the starting lineup. James Pantemis, another Canadian keeper, was. Were you surprised by that decision by the Portland coach?
Well, that was gonna be my question. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. Why on earth are you not starting Maxime Crepeau?
Because he played awful.
Like, I have absolutely no idea. I've like I don't know. Everything to me just about the build up to this match was hilarious because Phil Neville's comments. God is a Timbers fan. In the same way that
That's ballsy.
Like in the same way Ottawa York had their own little build up. This was insane. And then Vanni Sartini be Vanni Sartini. God can be a Timbers fan, but God doesn't exist for me. First of all, Phil, what on earth are we doing with the comments? And they're going to back that up. Yes, I understand that Maxime's not playing, but I think you have to stick with the guy who is the determined number one in my opinion.
But he wasn't. He wasn't the determined number one for Portland this year. They split that time, and Pentemis going into the playoffs had the better run of form. What are you hitting over there?
Everything. It's just the AAC's off the walls this morning. I'm like, let's just hit the mic stand. Let's hit the desk a little bit.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, I actually when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand. I'm not a huge fan of it because I want to see Crepeau get as many matches because he's been so good for Canada over the last little bit. But at the same time, getting Pentemis in, it's still a Canadian keeper. He's getting matches now. He's getting more confidence. Maybe we now have another keeper in the mix alongside Dane St. Clair, who we'll get to quickly in a bit.
Well, that's going to be my next thing.
Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Right? But it wasn't a huge shock, but it didn't matter who was in net.
That's true. Really, that wasn't going to make a difference.
They got blown out. And then Vancouver lost 2-1 to LAFC in the first game of their best of three. By the way, every best of three except for two are still going. So that's good. I mean, good matchups. And we've had 4 games out of quick math here. And out of 9 go to kicks. 4 out of 9 games go to kicks. So
stupid PKs.
Everything's close. Everything's there, which is good. You know what I mean? It's way more than 9 games. I can't count.
So it's fine. 13. It's not counting morning.
4 out of 13 have gone to kicks. So a lot of them are really close. We haven't had
that's like half.
In this round, there's only been 2 blowouts, and they both came in the LA Galaxy over Colorado matchup, where LA went 5-0 and 4-1 back-to-back to knock out Colorado.
With some great sellies. Did you see the Ricky Puig selly after he scored the one that was
sellies?
Obviously, the Dodgers won the World Series, right? So they did a little batsman with the catcher behind it. It was cheesy. I was like, this is brutal.
So LA's through to the next round, and Minnesota is through to the next round. 2 games, go to kicks. Dane St. Clair steps up.
Is that guy
huge?
He is him.
He steps up in a massive way for Minnesota United. They now face LA Galaxy, as I just said. Can St. Clair get these guys through? Do you think?
I literally know that it is my job on this to have opinions. I hate this because I feel like every opinion I've sort of had leading up has been incorrect. I want to say that this is a walk in the park for the LA Galaxy. Unfortunately, I think that they're gonna bag this easy. What I love to see Dane St. Clair be that wall that he has been, and what I like to see Minnesota be able to lock things down. Yes, I'm not necessarily feeling confident. I think both LA sides are phenomenal.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that statement, dude.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad as a Canadian footy fan. I'm like, you never know what can happen. I don't want to just say, because like for literally both of these, I was for the wild card games. I had CF Montreal winning, and Vancouver had not. I can't for the life of me think of the name of what this derby is called right now when the Whitecaps play the Timbers. What is it called? Any idea?
Isn't it the Cascadia?
Yes, Cascadia.
Yeah, it's Cascadia Cup.
Yes. So like Vancouver, the last time they played Timbers too, they shit the bed. Like it was bad. It was bad, right? So I was like, I got Montreal winning, I got Vancouver losing because they miffed getting the opportunity to host the game at BC Place. But then those results go completely different ways.
No. They won the right to host at BC
Place,
but they couldn't host at BC Place because there was something going on. And fans are pissed about that.
The motocross event. Sorry, it wasn't the Whitecaps that messed this up. It was BC Place.
I'm not arguing that fact, but
it was hilarious. And Anyhow, but, sorry, my burning question that I've just waited
Shoot, yeah.
all of the weeks since we've done our last
All
episode
the
to ask
weeks.
you: Does the
No.
matchup?
Yes. Continue, sorry.
Does Dane Sinclair's performance in the playoffs does that shift how Jesse Marsh is going to view
Oh.
who is the number one keeper for Team Canada?
No, because I don't think he has a true number one right now in
Okay.
his head. I know Crépeau has had the last couple starts, and Crépeau's played really well for the national team. But I think what it comes down to is whoever's playing well in camp. Because I think they're close enough that there's no clear number one. Like, we're not talking David De Gea to David Rea in Spain, right? Like, remember when that was – people were like, oh, is this close? No, it's not close. Like, De Gea was so far and away better, right? Thibaut Courtois when he was dominating the net, right? No one was taking that net from him from Belgium, right?
I said Donnarumma Vicario. It's a similar situation.
Yeah,
Last
exactly,
international,
right?
yeah,
Like,
for-
there's no clear-cut number one. Both of these guys could easily start for Canada. Hell, James Pantemis could start for Canada as well. I think he's thrown his name in there after this season with Minnesota, and I think he's going to keep coming to camps, right?
I like it.
There's a lot to be positive about for the Canadian goalkeeping, but I don't think Dane St. Clair's run right now in the playoffs is going to give him the upper hand in the battle. Will it maybe get him the next start? Potentially.
So, okay, wait. So, do we think that he gets? Is he going to be playing that game against Suriname? In Suriname, it's in Suriname. I think the first leg of this this tie in the CONCACAF Nations League.
Potentially. I could absolutely see it. Just because he'll have played longer and more recently, so that just gives him an upper hand on both Crépeau and Pantemis. That game's not till November 15th, so we still have almost 2 full weeks, almost, until that match, right? Anything could happen. He might not be available.
Am I correct in saying that he won't even be like the next round of the MLS Cup playoffs isn't even until the 23rd of November, right? So that's after the international break.
I'm not 100% sure when
I'm gonna
the
double
round
check.
is.
Googling
I don't
is
think
hard.
they posted the next round, so
Yeah, Saturday, November 23rd.
okay. So he
In
will
20
be available.
days, Minnesota hosts the LA Galaxy.
Minnesota could also say that, hey, we don't want him playing because we don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah. So then that's a whole other level.
It becomes a whole thing, right? So, do I
Yeah,
think
'cause, yeah.
do I think he's deserved a chance to play in the first game? Yes, I do. I think he's earned that. But I also don't think Crépeau has earned a spot supplanted on the bench for the rest of the Canadian camp. You know what I mean? I think there is still a place for him to make his way in, and I think if they split these two games, I wouldn't be shocked. Like maybe Dane plays the 15th and then Crépeau plays the 19th, right?
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I have one last silly question for
Yep.
you on this topic. So you were mentioning, of course, Minnesota United has a big game against LA Galaxy that is going to be happening directly after this international break. Is there like a chance, like you said, where Dane Sinclair doesn't get called at all? And if that is the case, and it's going to be Max, and who else? Who is it going to go to Jonathan Sirois? Does it go to Pantemis? Like if Dane Sinclair isn't called to this team because Minnesota says not a chance, who do you see the two keepers being?
Well, it's 3 keepers in camp.
True.
So they bring 3. They
guess-
might even bring 4. I think Crépeau, we're counting he's already in regardless. Let's say Dane's not there. I think Pantemis and Sirois both get a call into camp. It's whether they bring a 4th in. And if they do, I feel like it would be, who's the young guy that we were just talking about before? There's a young French Gregoire Swiderski, or whatever his name is. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong. It's going to really frustrate me.
This is bad.
Of course, this is in alphabetical order.
No reference points to help anybody out. I wish
not helpful.
I can't even throw you a bone because I have no idea. I haven't a clue.
Gregoire
So this is bad.
Swiderski. I was right. Screw you.
Never doubt Nick. No, I never doubted you. Never back down.
He's a
never
20-year-old. 19-year-old. He's playing in. He's playing in Spain. Deportivo Alves.
That's Spain.
That's Spain. He's on the B
Finally,
side
that's
right
put on
now.
the board.
He's on the B side right now. And he's playing, and he was called into one of the youth camps. I think he's been called up to a camp but never played in a match. I wouldn't be shocked if they bring him in as well, just to give
Okay.
another camp to him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
19-year-old who's really showing well in Europe.
Onto, I guess, sort of what Marsh's game plan was. Well, it's a little bit different because it's not like the same international friendly window that they had, but like just being able to bring the guys out to the camps, get them to experience what
But
it's
you
like
always
to be
bring an extra
playing for this
keeper
national
anyway.
side.
You know what I mean? You bring an extra keeper.
No,
So maybe this
100%.
is the time that they bring him instead of Pantemis or Sirois because they're going to be more involved in the actual rotation as opposed to being the extra. You know what I mean?
No, Hundo Pete. And I guess that's what I meant. Just sort of, yeah. If you go, when you talk about 1 and 2, is it a case where you have Maxime start one game and then who ends up being the second guy to start that second game?
Probably Pantemis, the way he's played this season.
Okay.
Not that I'm saying that Sirois hasn't played well. I think he has, but I think Pantemis, when he was in the net for Portland, played better than Sirois played for Montreal over the season. Because Sirois played the whole season, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Pantemis split a lot of the time with Crépeau. So
Okay.
that would be my opinion. So we'll see how this all plays out. Hopefully we get a roster announcement soon so we can talk about it.
Yes, sir.
But I digress. Speaking of rosters, let's head over to the women's national team. And they had a big result against Spain last Friday.
Yeah.
Technically 2 Fridays ago now. 1-1 draw. They actually went up on a goal by Marie-Yasmine Alidou, who was a late addition to camp because of injury. She gets in the match. She scores. But Canada got outplayed for most of this match.
Unfortunately.
Didn't
Understandably.
give up a ton at the same time. If we're talking like dangerous opportunities, there wasn't a whole lot there for Spain. But Spain had 73% possession, 10 shots on target, outpassed the Canadians 773 passes to 288.
A Spanish side passing the football a lot?
I know, but that
What?
discrepancy is wild. That's almost 500 more passes, right? So you got to understand the situation. And I'm not saying that the Canadians didn't play well. I think they played exactly what they expected. And I would love to see the stats at halftime versus the stats at full time. You know what I mean? Because we scored just before half, or just after half, sorry. We came out, scored a quick goal in the second half. And then they just pressed us. Pressed us. Everything came right at the Canadian line. So I give credit to the Canadians. They played really well. Olivia Smith, Evelyn Vian up top. Jordan Heidema even wasn't too bad. Awujo. The fact that we had to change our goalkeeper was concerning to me. But overall, it was a decent match against a very, very good Spanish side. A team that we both thought would probably win the match going into it. Probably a 1-0, 2-0 sort of victory. I said best case scenario, Canada comes away with a draw. Canada came away with a draw. So we got to say it's best case scenario. Are you happy with the result, Josh?
I think so. Like it wasn't a very good performance at all by the Canadians in any Spence's side. I think that, they're definitely obviously in a transitional point. And it just, there wasn't really any point within this match where I felt like they looked comfortable with the football. I think Spain really did. They came at them with the press, and then the Canadian side didn't really look like they knew how to handle it. It didn't really feel like everybody quite clearly understood their roles. There was a couple of moments where you bumped into each other. It's like where are you supposed to be standing on the field at this point? There just wasn't any true cohesion to this side. And then Alidou comes off the bench and she scores a wicked goal, and I'm absolutely buzzing. And then, but you also knew from that moment forward that you're like, there's no way they pull this out, right? And that's just it. How big is a match like this for this Canadian women's national side? Like how important was it? You think it truly was? It's not just one of those things where it was friendly for both sides. Spain was like, we're gonna try things out. We're gonna swap some players. Like you really do think that Canadian fans can put a lot of stock into this match and be confident with this draw?
Yes and no to those two questions, because that was two questions in one.
Yes.
Can you put a lot of stock into this match? Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a top side in the world, the World Cup holders. Right? A super talented side they put out there. Patulas was out there the whole game. Jenny Hermoso came on. This is a very, very good side, so we can't take that away. Can we be happy with how we played? Probably not. I don't think you can be super satisfied with what happened. But at the same time, like, yeah, you take the result. It is a massive result.
Yeah.
Any game against a big side, any game against a top 5 team is a big result, especially for a Canadian side who was top 5 for a very long time and is no longer.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair.
We're not a competitive side when it comes to World Cups. We show up at the Olympics, I'll give you that, but we haven't been a competitive World Cup side for a while, really. So the fact that we can pull a result from Spain and the fact that we can play against these top sides is something important, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And then you flip that conversation. What does that mean for the lineup? Like, Olivia Smith comes in, plays really well. Ali Du comes in, plays really well, right?
Yeah.
These are young players. Are they now going to be the frontline leaders? Is a Haidama, who I don't think it was her best game, but I don't think she played poorly necessarily. Is she going to now be pushed by one of these two? Is Vienne now our starting striker consistently over Prince or whoever else we want up there? Like, what does
I
this
guess
mean for the roster in your mind, Josh?
no, and that's this is kind of you're asking me a question, but I was going to respond with a question because I
No,
guess like
stop asking me questions.
I'm listen. Um, the interesting thing is like when you had sent me the roster when it got dropped, it was sort of like okay, yeah, wait, no, this makes sense. Like, what are the changes could there have been? And then I was sitting and I was reflecting on it a little bit more, and you'd almost hope to say, could there not have been a few more younger inclusions? Could this not have been a bit more of a different lineup than the one or squad that the one that was called to the Olympics, just so we could get a little bit more of an understanding of what we had to work with here. Like what Jesse Marsh has been able to do with the men's side is invite some younger guys into the squad, give them a little bit of a taste to see what it looks like to play for this country at the highest level, and then win over some dual nationals. Not necessarily that has to be the case with the women's side here, but I think that there could have been some changes made to the lineup that they could have called in so that we could have seen what player pool we have to work with a little bit more. I think like the Maria Alidou is a very interesting player to me because fringe. She's been on the fringe. She's been killing it for her club side.
Yep.
But she's almost 30. Like, do we say, you know what? I would like to have seen a bit of a younger squad coming into this camp so that like I was saying, we can take them to the dance, see they get an understanding what this national program has to offer, see what we're working with at its highest level, and then be able to set ourselves up for the future a little bit better than just being like, this is the same squad that we brought to the Olympics. Effectively, we know that they can get it done. Let's get a result against Spain. I don't know. In terms of I didn't get enough from this match player wise to be like, you know what? I think we have a clear picture of what the game plan and the project is moving forward, and that sort of upset me. I think.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip this back. Okay. If you're the coaching staff, okay, you're now coaching the women's national team. Are you ready for this? I'm gonna pose two kind of scenarios for you. Okay.
Okay.
You're playing one of the top countries in the world in Spain, the World Cup holders at the moment. We have a big tournament next year. I think, right? There is a big tournament next year for the women's national team.
What's really messed up about that? So I was just drawing a massive blank. Like I was trying to figure that out. What the next tournament is that we're looking ahead to.
Well, it's the World Cup next year, isn't it?
The Women's World Cup? No, that's in 2027.
Is it 2027?
Yeah, so and we just came off a slew of like the Women's W Gold Cup just happened. We had the She Believes Cup just happened this past year.
Yeah.
Obviously, then the Women's World Cup was last summer. So I'm not gonna lie to you, Nick.
I feel like there is a big tournament next year, but anyways, whatever. Let's say there is a big tournament next year. You have this Spanish side, who's one of the top teams in the world. Okay? Do you want to mess around and potentially put out a younger lineup just to see what you have? Or do you want to see where your most likely starters match up against one of the top teams in the world ahead of a potential big tournament?
Yeah, I see. I think.
Whereas, let's say we're the
11.
men's national team and we're playing Suriname. Are you more comfortable seeing where your young guys are, or are you still wanting to see where your potential starters go?
Yeah. No.
Right? I think it comes down to who they played. More than anything, it comes down to who they played in this one. And they played Spain, who's a top team. So for me, I'm saying that this is just because they played Spain and not because they didn't want to see youngsters.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's my thought. So take that as you will.
Okay, sorry. Can I think. Sorry, I pulled up. I referenced the Googs quick times. So 2025, 2026, you have the CONCACAF W Cup qualifiers that are going to be happening.
Okay.
And so that's the 2026 CONCACAF W Championship is, I believe, what the Canadian women's side has to look forward to most, like, upcoming.
Okay.
For
Fair enough.
international tournaments.
Fair enough. Okay. So there you go. So I was wrong. I apologize.
That's okay. I hope that I'm also not incorrect here.
No, I think you're right. I was looking it over, and I think you are right. So, oh well. Let's move on, and let's get to the conversation that I'm kind of tired of having at this point. But more updates keep coming. Drone Gate, the scandal is still ongoing, and we're still waiting for some of the shoes to drop, I guess.
Yeah.
But one dropped this week, and the parliamentary committee who tried to get Bev Priestman and John Herdman in to talk, their motion got voted down, and Herdman will not have to go to Ottawa to answer questions about his alleged involvement in the use of drones to spy on opponents during his time at Canada Soccer. Now, it doesn't mean that he's completely out of the potential discipline and anything like that, but this does mean TFC doesn't have to talk about it yet, which is probably a good thing for TFC at least, not necessarily for fans who just kind of want to know what's going on. Josh, what does this make you think about what the investigation is sort of showing, and do you think this is a big deal? I have a different answer, so I'm curious what you say.
I think so. I think that's what I had said earlier when we were talking about this. Like, what? You're talking about the guy that started this whole thing. It was John Herdman that planted the seed.
Allegedly.
Okay, sorry. Everything's a legend. It is. But it makes absolutely no sense. I think that it is very clear based on the conversations that had been had with regards to the little comments made in interviews. I heard that you were flying a drone over the Honduras camp. Oh, people fly drones in Canada. Like, Bev Priestman worked under John Herdman at the women's national team level. I think John Herdman was the one that planted the seed that had sort of made this common practice. And it is absolutely absurd to me that he's not going to be called in for questioning whatsoever. I think he has to be, cross-examined here, right? Put on my lawyer hat for a second. That's definitely the word. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid. I don't understand it, and that was the biggest thing. Why on earth wouldn't you just go forward and just ask? Like, please inform my uninformed opinion, Nick.
Because this doesn't mean anything. This is for Canada. This is punishment for Canada Soccer, an organization he's no longer with. Right? So this literally means nothing to them. They don't need him there.
Facts.
Right? So it got voted down to have him come in because there's really no point to having him come in. We know what happened. And unfortunately, the investigation that Canada Soccer is doing actually stems more from the incident in Paris, not necessarily how deep it goes. That's a different, separate investigation, which he will have to answer for at some point. This wasn't that. So people need to understand the difference between what's actually going on. This is a Canada Sport, hit the mic stand. This is a Canada Sport investigation as opposed to a FIFA or governing body investigation when it comes to the sport. So while, yes, would he have been there? Would him being there have made this easier? Probably. It would have made it a lot easier for the members of parliament to give their opinion on the state of Canada soccer and what needs to be done. But he doesn't need to be there to get all that information. Bev Priestman is being questioned. Other people in Canada soccer are being questioned. But John Herdman's technically not part of Canada soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, like, unofficially, yeah, he is because he's coaching a Canadian professional team, so he's part of the hierarchy, but he's not really part of Canada soccer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why for me, like, this is such a nothing burger that people made into a more important than it is sort of thing. Not just you. Like, I saw so many people up in arms about this, and I'm just like, you got to understand what this investigation specifically is. You know what I mean? We can't get upset about something that he really doesn't need to be part of.
True.
That's my opinion, at least. He doesn't need to be there. There's no need for him to be there. So why are we making such a big deal about it? And I know we wanted to talk about it just because it is an update on the drone gate, and we're trying to keep people informed. But this whole thing, until we see the results of the 2 investigations that are going on within Sport Canada and FIFA, why? Why do we have to have constant updates of nothingness? You know what I mean?
The media trying to grasp at straws? What?
Everyone's trying to grasp at straws, though. Like, everyone, not just the media. Everybody's grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So for me, I just don't see this being an issue or anything important.
Well, I appreciate that. You put my mind at ease. Because that was it. Me being up in arms, happens all the time. Takes nothing.
That's your base level.
Yeah, basically.
Your arms are just like this all week, and then we come here and you're down here, so I can bring you back down.
This is actually just live therapy with Nick McVicker. sports therapy. New segment: supporter sports therapy.
Sports therapy. That would be a very dangerous segment. We could go on for days.
It'd be brilliant.
Josh, let's get to the end of the show here, and it is the scouting report. We've already kind of gone over Pantemis. We've gone over Sirois. We've gone over Dane St. Clair. Who else do you got for us this week?
Okay, so we're going to head over to Europe to get things started. I'm referencing back to we're harkening back to last Sunday so that we get the full week in review, the last 7 days. So, Alphonso Davies picked up an assist in Bayern's 5-0 win over VfL Bochum on Sunday last week.
Too.
Big assist. And then he bagged another apple in Bayern's 4-0 win over Mainz on Wednesday. I'm certainly pronouncing all of these German clubs correct. Anybody flame me in the comments and let me know how I should pronounce it. Then, Alistair Johnson. Have a week.
Alistair week,
Johnson.
Son.
That was incredible. So, he had a man of the match performance scoring against Motherwell in Celtic's 3-0 win. And then he bagged another goal in their 2-0 victory over Dundee FC because Alistair Johnson is him. It was incredible to see. And then, more Canadian men's national team players absolutely popping off at the moment. Stefan Eustáquio, okay? A guy that has kind of gone under the radar recently. I feel like he's the talking points have been other things, which are important. But the fall off for Stefan Eustáquio has been low-key sad. I wouldn't even say it's form-based because he just scored for Porto in their cup tie on Thursday, okay? And then Jonathan David doing Jonathan David things. He begged goal for Lille. He just keeps scoring because he just can't get enough. Just can't get enough Johnny D. And then the GOAT herself, the greatest women's footballer of all time, okay? Christine Sinclair scored in her final regular season match for Portland in their 1-0 victory over Angel City FC. We got a fun playoff coming.
Which did what for them?
What? Did I miss something?
They secured a playoff spot with that.
Okay. Yes. Sorry. Yes, they secured a playoff spot. Yes, we got a fun postseason on the way in the NWSL. I started gaslighting myself insanely right there.
What did I do wrong?
I don't understand. Okay, then to close things off, Jordan Heidema scored in Seattle Reigns. They did lose. Seattle Reigns did lose to the Orlando Pride, but Heidema scored.
Nice. Up
and down news too, and then in sadder news, we had 2 huge injury blows, both the men's and women's side, with Liam Miller and Chloe Lacasse, both ACL related
for the year.
Are you kidding me?
That's tough, man.
I was so upset. I was like, hey, Chloe Lacasse going on an absolute tear on the Thanksgiving weekend, bagging 3 goals for the Utah Royals, and then they're saying, and we talked about that in the last episode, she was firing off.
Yep.
And I know I made the comment earlier about how it'd be nice to see maybe some younger gals getting the opportunity to be in the women's national team setup. I think Chloe Lacasse was on incredible form and is going to be a great leader for the side. And I think she's got a good couple of years left. So it's really unfortunate that she's going to be out for obviously the remainder of this season, as well as a little bit of the start of 2025. And then on the Liam Miller side of things, I'm extremely bummed because he was cooking. That whole little 1 and 2 battle that we were going to be having on the left side of the field for the Canadian men's national setup. Where's that going now? I think Schaff needed the competition. There you go. So is that where this
Buchanan.
So okay, we got like 5 minutes left. Let's
You got
end on
4.
on a
I'll give you
on a
4.
okay, quick little sizzler. So okay, what does the setup look like then for and we'll get a closer preview of it as we approach the match. But Tejan was back in training for Inter Milan. He's healthy again, I
Is he though?
believe.
That's back in training. That's two different things, right? Like
Yeah.
being game fit and being back in training are two very different things. So if he can get into a couple matches, I feel like you got to give him a run in one of the games. Now, I
Yeah.
would probably have Schaff and Buchanan as the starters, then Ahmed come off the bench. But
So
it
I just
really
wanna
depends.
see.
It really depends on
Yeah.
health. It depends on health for me.
No, that makes okay. So Tejan, he didn't play in Inter's last game against Empoli, but he was on the bench for them,
Right.
and that was a midweek. That was on Wednesday. So Inter's got a game against Venezia coming up this afternoon.
Yeah, it'll
We'll
be
see if he,
interesting to see if he gets
yeah,
in.
if
And
he
if he
plays well in
does
there.
get in, if he can get 2 games in before the break, then yeah, absolutely, I could see him playing in the game against one of the games
Yeah,
against Suriname.
and then in that case, what does your left side right side pairing look like then? Do you put
Schaff
is it
left,
Schaff and
Schaff
Buchanan?
left,
No
Buchanan
questions
right.
asked. Okay.
If they're healthy, especially with Miller out now, yeah, those are the
Yeah.
2 starters. As good as Ali Ahmed's played, and I think Ali Ahmed could push them and
Yeah.
should push them, it's got to be those 2 right now.
I think for the plot, I'd love to see Ali Ahmed swapped over to the left side and keep Buchanan on the right, just to give Schaff a push. I think he
Well,
needs
no,
that
I
a wee
think
bit.
Ahmed can play both sides, and that's why
Yeah.
he pushes both of them,
True.
and whoever's playing the best gets the game. You know what I mean? Like I don't
This is
think
true.
I don't think it's a dead set. Okay, it has
Yeah.
to be Buchanan Schaff. I think it's who's playing well, who's ready to go,
No,
and we go from there.
that makes sense.
Also, did
Ooh.
you see Dane St. Clair's before we go? Did you see Dane St. Clair's celly last night? I just saw it
No.
on Twitter. He did the Vince Carter. It's over.
Legendary.
It's over. Gotta love it. Vince Carter
I'm
gets
here.
his number retired by the Raptors last night. Dane St. Clair honors the man after the penalty kicks. You
It's Dane
got
St. Clair's
to
world.
love it.
And I think we're just living in it right now.
Well, you are. I'm living in the soccer community, and that's why we have to run. So, Josh, it's been an
True.
absolute slice, my friend. We'll get back to this more consistently moving forward. For everyone, make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, because I believe
FTSS Pod.
we are on all 3, FTSS Pod, as he said. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel as well to look us up from the supporter section, FTSS. We will be back soon. Josh, anything you want to add before we go?
No, I think that's all. Big game tonight against
game.
LAFC for Vancouver.
Big game, big game.
See how it goes. Must win.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how those must-win games work. That you must win them. Anyways, we'll be back soon. We'll see you later, folks.
Cheers.